Thank you so much for joining Powder River Basin Resource Council's webinar series, Reclaiming and Growing Wyoming's Future. The topic for today is Family Resources for a Changing Wyoming Workforce. The goal of our webinar series is to start a deeper ongoing conversation about Wyoming's workforce, as well as to provide education, tools, and resources for families in economic transition. This event is hosted by us at Powder River Basin Resource Council. We are a member-based grassroots nonprofit that has been around since 1973, and we are a family, agricultural, and conservation organization based in Wyoming. We are concerned members and citizens committed to conservation of our unique land, mineral, and clean air resources, consistent with responsible use of those resources to sustain the livelihood of present and future generations. If you want to know more about Powder River Basin Resource Council, you can visit our website at powderriverbasin.org. My name is Monica Leininger, and I'm a community organizer with Powder River Basin Resource Council, and I am excited to turn over things to our moderator, Rod Godby. But first, I'll just share that we have 3 speakers today who present some of the workforce solutions available in the state. Our moderator will introduce all those panelists in that moment. Each of them will speak, and then we'll take a short 5-minute break and begin a question and answer session. Anytime during the webinar, you can answer questions into the question box on the side of your GoToWebinar panel. We ask that once the speakers begin that the chat remain quiet or respectful, only related to the content of the webinar. And due to time constraints, we might not get to all the questions, but we'll make sure we have contact information available to encourage an ongoing conversation. So our moderator for today's topic is Dr. Rob Godby. He's asked that I only call him Rob. An economist at the University of Wyoming and acting associate dean of Hobbs School, Environment and Natural Resources, as well as many other duties, including the Deputy Director, Center for Energy Regulation and Policy Analysis, and Associate Professor. So Rob, please jump in now and feel free to share anything else about yourselves before you introduce the panelists.
Sure, so thanks, Monica. First of all, welcome to the seminar today. This is a really important topic. It won't be the last time anyone talks about this, but I think it's something that we really can't talk too much about. So as Monica said, I'm Rob Godby. I'm the Associate Dean of the Hobbs School of Environment and Natural Resources here at the University of Wyoming. Next week, I will begin as the Interim Dean of the College of Business at the University of Wyoming. Between that professional job and also just my passion for the state, Wyoming's future is fundamentally important to me, and I think it's conversations like we're going to have today that are really going to be important as we deal with not only what's going on now, but changes that will inevitably occur in the future. Wyoming's economy, as everybody knows, is very dependent on fossil fuels, and the energy transition that's going on has really affected many people in the state already. The decline of coal is really just the first and probably a chain of events that are going to happen as our national and international economies modernize and move. Technological change is fundamental, it's inevitable. And so really how I look at the energy transition is not as a threat, but it's just something that happens. And like the weather, we have to deal with it and adapt to it. This transition is going to affect a lot of people in the state. It's going to affect workers in the energy sector, but also those jobs that depend on the energy sector. And it's going to affect people and communities that often didn't really even see themselves as part of the energy sector. And that's because this isn't going to affect only the energy sector and those people who work in it, but also those jobs that depend on those incomes, those people that depend on the public revenues that come from that sector, and so on. And importantly, this is going to affect not only directly workers, but also their families and the communities. As we look at some of the changes that have occurred, already we've seen large changes in the private economy as jobs have been displaced. We're also seeing it in the public sector. We've seen declines in public services and education, for example. The community colleges have gone through a round of layoffs. University of Wyoming has downsized significantly since 2016. And anybody who's in government right now, whether that's state or local government, recognizes that the decline in public revenues has meant that changes have to be made, and fundamentally, often some jobs in those areas as well are in jeopardy. One of my favorite quotes is from an author named Denise McCluggage, who, writing about a very different economic transition, actually one in the automotive sector, said something that's really important and I think applicable to Wyoming today. She said, "Change is the only constant and holding on is the only sin." And I think that's really important to think about, right? We need to adapt, and we will adapt. And so our communities and our economy will be continually changing, and we don't need to do that alone. One of the strategies we can use to do that successfully is to develop and diversify the state's workforce as a critical piece of kind of a sustainable economy and family well-being that'll occur in the future. So today we're going to hear about some of the opportunities available to help diversify our workforce, to make us more nimble, able to change, and these are options that are already available. By supporting the families and communities, we can take some of the burdens off of the individual workers who will also be affected, and also help our communities be stronger for the challenges that lay ahead, and also the opportunities. And we need to focus on that as well. Change always brings opportunity, and that can be very positive. And so if we're ready to meet those opportunities, we can make the most of them. And that's also something I think we really need to emphasize as we talk about workforce support and supporting not only the workers, but also the families and the rest of the members of our communities. So today our speakers are going to discuss some of the current services in Wyoming that are available, and also identify opportunities and solutions to move forward as communities. So the first of our speakers today is Robin Sessions. She's a JD and has been working for the state for a number of years as an attorney, serving the Wyoming Attorney General's office. She's been in the State Board of Equalization. Long list of things here, Robin. The Public Service Commission. You were later the Deputy Attorney General to the newly formed Human Services Division. And you were appointed in 2019 to be the Director of Workforce Services, which is fundamentally important to what we'll be talking about today. Also, you're an educator, like some of the rest of us on this call, an adjunct at the community colleges and the UW College of Law, and you'll be discussing some of the Department of Workforce Services opportunities and programs, as well as noting some other business programs. Our second speaker is Dr. Kim, well, she has a formally long name, Dr. Kimberly Custer-Dale, but like I told Monica to call me Rob, she has made it clear to call her Kim. You've served as the president of Western Wyoming Community College for 2 years, with 20 years of experience in the Colorado Community College system prior to that. You're a former business faculty member, as well as a longtime college administrator. So it sounds like we have a lot in common. I haven't been president though. She is a passionate advocate for access, success, and workforce development, the workforce development mission of community colleges. Outside of her professional time, we also have another thing in common. You're an avid mountain biker, a hiker, and an outdoor enthusiast. And apparently you've loved Wyoming since you've got here, so welcome. Finally, our third speaker is Katie Hogarty, who's also a JD. Katie's had more than a decade of experience in program relationship and cultivation at Climb, Wyoming, and that's provided her with a wealth of structural knowledge to successfully navigate state and federal partnerships. Prior to joining Climb, Katie worked as Governor Friedenthal's administration as Health and Human Services Policy Analyst. She speaks nationally on Climb's federally recognized best practices, and in discussing the Climb programs, Climb's innovation and creativity and new strategies on economic recovery and resilience. Katie holds a JD from the University of Wyoming. and will become Climb's next CEO in the fall of 21. So welcome, everybody. So what we will do now is, as we're going to slide into presentations from each of our speakers. First, we will hear from Robin, then Kim, and then finally Katie, and then we'll take a 5-minute break, as Monica indicated, and then we'll come back with a Q&A. So when you're ready, Robin, take it away.
Okay, thank you. I just hit show my screen, so I'm hopefully you can see my screen.
It looks good.
Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay, very good. I can't see here. All I see is a big picture of myself, which is very disconcerting. So I'm going to be working off my slide instead of looking at my face on the screen here, if you don't mind. So again, my name is Robin Cooley. I am the Director of Wyoming Workforce Services. And I wanted to tell you about something that was really a very profound experience that I had right when I got in this job. I started this job in March, and beginning in July, we got the word literally overnight that 500 workers at the Black Jewel coal mine had been locked out of had been asked to go home and were locked out of their jobs. What an introduction to my job and the incredible opportunity that we had to try to help make a difference with the individuals in that community. We were on the ground in Gillette, I'd say pretty much within 24 hours, and had an informational meeting. We were packing up rapid response. This is called a rapid response effort that we do all over the state, whether it doesn't matter the size of the layoff. If we hear of a layoff, either from an employer, we've heard of them through Facebook, we hear of them by just an individual calling into a workforce center. If we hear of a layoff, we immediately go into a rapid response protocol. And within 24 hours in Gillette, we had an informational meeting set up where we had 250 plus coal miners in this meeting at Gillette College there. We had information for them on HR, on wage and hour. A lot of them had not been paid. Their health insurance had not been paid. Their retirement had not been paid. And how could we help them? Because in our agency, we also have the wage and hour division, and that's where you go to make claims relating to that. We had information there for insurance purposes. We had information there relating to unemployment. How do you apply for unemployment? Many of these people, like with the pandemic, had never applied, and it's a kind of a tricky system. So you really have to have that information to know how to do that. So we had employers at this informational session. We had people actually employers taking applications, and we had people actually interviewing at that site. 2 days later, we had an incredible job fair. We were only supposed to have 40 people, 40 employers there. We had 60 employers there ready to take over, help, interview, take applications, and hire individuals. So that was really this collaborative effort, not only through Workforce Services, but it was through the Department of Insurance. It was through the community college there. It was, employers in the community were stepping up to the game. It was just this really well-rounded effort to get on the ground and let people know there in that community that we were there to help. We were going to do whatever we could to help them out with it. And that continued for quite some time after that, as you know. So that was such a welcoming to the position and a recognition for me of the incredible importance that Workforce Services provides to the state of Wyoming and our individual communities. So with this first slide, really what I'm talking about here is our mission, and that is collaborating to support a thriving workforce and economy. We collaborate across any number of agencies, whether it's insurance, it's DFS. Recently, we helped work with DFS, and they are just now starting to launch the Emergency Rental Assistance Program for individuals across the state to help with emergency rental assistance. If you need more information, I'm putting a plug in for that. If you need more information on that, please get onto the Department of Family Services website for more information on that. It's an incredible opportunity for individuals that are having difficulties with rent and utility payments. So we're collaborating with any number of entities out there that want to work with us, and we've never turned anyone down. If you know of other entities that want to collaborate with us, please let them know that we're ready and available to make that happen, because we're stronger together than we are trying to do these things individually. But I wanted to start out today really talking to you about our workforce centers. And if there is nothing else that I leave you with after this, is these are workforce and career centers. They are places you can go to find incredible assistance for your careers and your workforce. They're not just the unemployment office. And unfortunately, that's kind of what they're thought of, as the unemployment office. And certainly that's a part of it, but that's a smaller part of what we can really help you do in Wyoming to really upskill and find that job that you want in Wyoming. On the slide here, we talk to you, I show you where all of our 20 workforce centers are across the state. So we're either directly in your community or we're nearby in another community. So the workforce centers, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what's happened over the pandemic. We were the only workforce centers in the entire country that stayed physically open during the pandemic. This was a decision made by Governor Gordon, and I think it was absolutely the correct decision to make. We have people in our rural communities that had no access to internet. They had no access to computers to even apply for unemployment. We had libraries shut down. We had businesses where you could go in and access computers shut down. Everything was shut down. We stayed open, and the response was absolutely incredible. We went with our larger workforce centers in Cheyenne, Casper, and Gillette up to 1,000 walk-ins per week. Keep in mind, during the pandemic, in these workforce centers, we were getting people, they've never applied for unemployment insurance before. And as I said earlier, it's tricky, and it takes some assistance. So we had our workforce center staff there absolutely available to help people that came through the door, to help them get assistance through unemployment insurance. And as you know, we had 8+ different programs that we implemented during this time frame. And it was not without glitches, it was not without difficulty, but we made it happen. And I can tell you that through all of the efforts of Workforce Services, we had over $500 million in funding go out directly to Wyoming citizens and eventually into your communities across the country. So it was an all hands on deck effort for sure. The smaller centers increased their walk-in numbers to 300 per week. Keep in mind, this is pretty remarkable, because in some of these smaller centers, we might have maybe 1 or 2 people in there that are actively helping individuals at times. And so it was an all hands on deck effort for sure. But these are some of the assistance points that you can really tap into at these workforce centers. You might get a skills assessment. What is it you're good at? But from there, what is it you want to do? And how do we take the skills that you currently have and market those, or transition those, or upskill those into the skills for the job that you want to have? Those are the types of discussions that you have. And I want you to know, when you walk into a workforce center, what you get is a workforce specialist that sits down with you, and it's an individualized assessment. It's not just a, well, here's the computer, go do some research, see what you want to do. Maybe, if we can help you beyond that. It's someone that is actively working with you to help you with what you need to do to get to where you want to go. We have all kinds of job assistance workshops there and job assistance efforts. We have what's called Wyoming at Work, which is a place that captures it. It's kind of like the Indeed of Wyoming. and it captures all of the, or most of the jobs that are in Wyoming that you might be interested in. So that's something you can look through and apply for jobs from there. We have reemployment assistance for UI claimants. If you're on UI is just a stopgap. It's to keep you on your feet until you find new employment. So we can help you with that new employment search. But there's such soft skills like resume writing, mock interviews. What do you wear to an interview? How do you answer some of those very difficult interview questions that we've all had to answer, right? So those are just some of the skills that you can really work on and get assistance with in the workforce centers. And they are, again, it's workforce and career centers. It's not just the unemployment office. So the funding that you will benefit from in the workforce centers is from the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or what we call WIOA. WIOA is there just to cover all of these different opportunities for you, to help you skill up, to help you determine what the labor market looks like, and it's for different segments of our society as well. We help adult services. If you're an adult individual over the age of 18, looking for work, we can provide services. If you're a dislocated worker, you're that worker that's been laid off from a mine, we can come in. We've got additional funds for dislocated workers. But also if you're a youth worker, we've got a lot of opportunities to help youth out. And we're really looking at that more closely now. And in some of the other slides, I'll talk to you a little bit about how we're getting into the high schools through some other opportunities in order to get people excited about jobs in Wyoming and what all there is out there to offer. So again, services are individualized based on needs. And if I'm trying to go through this fairly quickly, I don't want to cut into anybody else's time. So these slides will be available later. You can take a look at them. But please recognize there's just so much out there with career counseling, helping you achieve whatever goals you want. We've got a lot of opportunity. You just have to step into that front door for that career center assistance. So what can we actually help you with? We've got training services and costs for that training that we can help you with. And we've also got supportive services. So the training services, that might be occupational skills training. We might even put you into a job and give you on-the-job training, skills upgrading, and we can customize the training based on what you need. What's a supportive service? Those are the services like you need steel-toed boots to go to a construction job you just got. You need transportation to go to a job interview. You need clothes, appropriate clothes for that job interview. We can help you with those clothes, but it's also things like rent and utility while you're actually looking for a job. So there's a lot of those supportive type of services that help you just meet basic needs so you can get in the front door to get that interview, to get that job. But again, we also provide you help with unemployment insurance. UI is a stopgap. Remember that. It's financial assistance to those who have lost their jobs through no fault of their own. And it's to help you get back on the track, and it's to help you get that next job that you're looking for. I also would be remiss if I didn't mention vocational rehabilitation. We've got vocational rehabilitation offices. Most of them are located within our workforce centers around the state, but we also have people that go out into other communities also for appointments with other individuals that might need it. So vocational rehabilitation is really broad, and it can provide you with some considerable assistance. And remember that a disability is not necessarily something that's visible. We're talking mental illness, emotional issues that you might be having, as well as physical disabilities. But we're there to help with vocational rehab, and the assistance they can provide is really remarkable, with even a different set of federal funds that come from the federal government. But we can provide you, there's counseling, there's career counseling. Again, there's prepping for employment, just like the workforce centers do. But also another thing is they can help you with accommodations that you might need to actually get into that job. It's a very remarkable program, and one that we shouldn't forget about as an option for various individuals. So with that's what's going on in our workforce center. But I also, if I've got the time, I want to tap into what's also available for businesses, because if you can talk to a business about what some of these opportunities are, they might want to take advantage and get you hired in as an internship or an intern or apprenticeship. So I first want to talk about the next gen sector partnerships really quickly. These are industry-led partnerships around the state. This was an initiative that was really a collaboration again with the Wyoming Workforce Development Council, the Business Council, and the Department of Education. And these are sectors within our state where industry has decided they really need to ramp up their efforts for workforce. So if you can see here, like we've got manufacturing, look at what they're doing. They're providing plant tours for students and counselors into the plants so they can see what it is that goes on in these plants. And maybe this is something they want to take part in. Healthcare, there are healthcare camps for high school students and middle school students. Maybe that's a career they want to take on. Construction over here, they've reached out into the high schools to actually put these high schoolers on buses and shuttle them around to construction sites so they can see what these workers are doing and talk to them about, what's the job like, what kind of income can they expect, just getting really good information. Gillette has done this, Live Gillette, Love Gillette, that talks about some of the finance industry opportunities there in Gillette. So there's just so much going on with these industry-led partnerships in order to generate excitement with some of our younger folks around some of these opportunities in Wyoming. We also have, I gotta leave on the training fund, because this is so exciting to me. These are funding opportunities to provide training for employees, whether it's a pre-hire grant. We've got a business that's coming in. We know they're coming in. We know they might not have skilled workers coming into our state. We can offer grants to them to get people upskilled and trained. So as soon as they open their doors, they've got trained employees ready to work. We've got business training grants. We've got, if a business has an existing employee base that they need to find some training for, we can help them pay for that training. Apprenticeship grants. Apprenticeships are going to be big in the future. We're trying to build up our apprenticeship opportunities around the state, and that's another opportunity for us. But I'm really excited to mention the internship grants. This is our newest program. What it is you can take individuals, an employer gets paid a certain amount that they can help to pay an intern to come into their business, learn their business, get excited about their business, and maybe that's an individual that will stick with their business, stay in Wyoming, and really help that business to grow. So I think that those internship grants are another great opportunity for Wyoming and to develop our workforce. And with that, I just want to leave you again with another slide of our 20 workforce centers around the state, and I thank you for this opportunity to talk to you about workforce in Wyoming.
So thanks, Robin. That was great. I guess our next speaker will come back with questions. I just wanted to remind people of that. So we'll have a break after our three speakers present, and then we'll come back with questions. So please think about your questions you might have for Robin or Kim or Katie. And I'll just introduce our next speaker. That's Kim Dale again from Western Wyoming Community College. So go ahead, Kim.
Thank you, Rob. Can everyone hear me and see my screen? If you'll just say yes, that would be great.
Looks great.
Okay, thank you, because I can't see myself. But Robin, thank you. I learned a lot just from the last 15 minutes. So far, so good with our webinar. My name's Kim Dale, and I'm president at Western Wyoming Community College. Thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about the college and our community colleges in general today. This is going to be kind of a bit of a tutorial related to community colleges in Wyoming. So thinking about our resources that we have available. So starting out with just a definition of what the comprehensive community college is. In Wyoming, we have 7 comprehensive community colleges. What that means is that the community college will also prepare for transfer, workforce development, and career and tech ed, and developmental opportunities. So you only have one place that you need to go for all of those experiences. There are other states that have them separate. So you might have a technical college, a transfer college, but here in Wyoming, you can go to one place and get everything. And when it comes to the fundamental outcome for our community colleges, there are 3 basic pillars, if you will. And the first one is about student access, meaning the comprehensive community college was created back in the day for folks who might not have access to university, meaning maybe they didn't have money back in the day, or they weren't on a scholarly track. I mean, we're talking long ago, right? So here in Wyoming, it has been legislated that community college has to be as free as possible for our students. And it means that everyone's accepted, and we're always striving to keep the cost of a higher education experience as low as possible. But what we also mean by access is that we meet you wherever you're at. So we might have some students that maybe need to get their high school diploma or some adult basic education skills. We have those opportunities available. Developmental education in math and English, certificates, degrees, and now in Wyoming, we have the opportunity to offer a bachelor's degree. And in the fall, Western will launch our Bachelor's of Applied Science in Business, so that there is that access for students. And then, of course, there are lots of flexible learning options. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. The second pillar is about student success. Lots of wraparound services for our students. What kind of support do they need? Maybe they need childcare, and we have that available on our campus. How do we keep students engaged? But we want to focus on helping students stay in school and complete their pathway. So that's the second pillar. And then the third is relevant also to what we're talking about today, and that is our workforce and community development. This is a fundamental outcome for community colleges, is to provide relevant programs to help have highly skilled employees for our workforce and for our business and industries. And one of the things that we do for each of our career and technical education programs, formerly known as vocational education, is we have advisory committees for each of the programs where we have businesses that tell us what kind of skills are necessary for those entry level and advanced jobs within the business. So I wanted to show you this slide, much like Robin, about where you can find your 7 community colleges in Wyoming. And if you look at this, you can also see that there are a variety of outreach centers as well. So clearly we're doing a good job in Wyoming in providing access for our residents. So you can take a look wherever you're located and find your service area for that individual community college, and that is designated with the colors. And you can look at Western Wyoming Community College and see that, yes, we do serve 29,000 square miles of primarily rural areas. So it's important to have those outreach centers available for everyone. So here's just some stats on the Wyoming Community College student. You can see it's kind of impressive, I think, to be able to say that we are serving in 2021, 28,500 students. And interesting, isn't it, to think that 20% are full-time and 80% are part-time? You know, maybe some people are thinking, you know, gosh, those young full-time students. Nope, you're going to see a lot of part-time students. And you can see we have 46% male, 54% female. and the age range from 16 to 65. We're doing a lot more with dual and concurrent enrollment in the high schools, where students are getting college credit before they graduate. Some students are graduating with a degree or certificate from their community college when they get their high school diploma as well. But we serve everybody in between as well. And the average age right now is at 25, and that is considering those younger high school students. So at Western, I just put this stat that our average age, if you disaggregate the high school students, is 30. So again, we are looking at a high percentage of adult learners in our community colleges. And then another key point is that our average student to faculty ratio right now is 14:1 on average for all of our 7 community colleges. Makes it very, good engagement, interaction with the students and the faculty. So here are some perceived barriers to college. And of course, a lot of people will first go to money. I don't have any money to go to college. Well, guess what? We have financial aid offices that are ready to help you figure out how much is it going to cost, what do you have available, and there is a form, an electronic form called FAFSA, which is your federal aid application. And when you fill this out, the government then will tell you what you might be eligible for free money and or loans. And the FAFSA has gotten more easier to fill out over the years. It used to be a little bit daunting, and the feds keep making it easier and easier, where you can just have some of your income tax return information just automatically populated. Our message to students is just fill it out. If you think you're not going to be eligible for anything, you probably will be very surprised. There is a lot of money out there. And if you're going for scholarships outside of the federal funds that are available, they want you to fill this out. So our message is just fill it out. There's a big initiative that's starting in Wyoming right now for high school students to start filling that out so they can find out what they're eligible for, Hathaway and beyond. So we just encourage everybody, fill out the FAFSA and see what you get. So federal funds are typically based on need, and I'd like to just use, put some of this verbiage out there for everyone. If it's called a grant, you don't pay it back. If it's called a loan, you pay it back. Makes sense. Sometimes we assume people know what these terms are. And then a scholarship, you don't pay back. So there's all kinds of scholarships. They come in all shapes and sizes. Academic, they can be merit-based, they can be what's your major, athletic, special populations, state and local scholarships are available. And by filling out FAFSA, you learn more about what you might be eligible for. And then I just put an example down here on Sweetwater County. High school graduates, they get $4,000 if you have a 2.0 GPA or better. Boom. Did you know you could get that? Money is out there. And then institutional scholarships are available as well. Your financial aid office can help you with that. Here's a very interesting statistic for 2019 and 20, that in Wyoming, the dollar amount for grants and scholarships that were awarded was over $48 million just for the community colleges. If you add UW in there, it is over $109 million of free money. Money is out there. Of course, there are private loans available. And then I want to make a quick plug about the ARP plan, this American Rescue Plan that's coming forward, just to encourage folks to be watching for that. We anticipate that there will be more future funding opportunities available when that comes to fruition. And then I want to give a plug to the Wyoming Adult Promise Grant. There's been a lot of work done over the past few years with professionals and legislators in Wyoming to start drafting some legislation to help fund adult students to improve their skills so they can be retrained and transition. And these will be focused on those ages 25 to 64. There was a draft that was presented in the last legislative session, and now it did not pass. There's going to be some additional work that's being done. It's going to land in the laps of the Joint Appropriations, or excuse me, Joint Education Committee. So watch for that as well. And then one other plug I don't have on here, ask your employer. Find out from your employer if there are tuition assistance programs. You may be surprised. More free money available even for transitioning. I don't have time. I don't know what I want to do. We have all kinds of resources for that. Just listening to Robin, there's the workforce centers actually have some of these resources available as well. But you know, we encourage you to commit to and plan for a better future. And it is a family decision. Have those conversations. I'm thinking about going back to school. I want to get, you know, an additional certificate or degree. Have those conversations. Explore alternative careers. What's next? We just saw a slide on the next gen partnerships. What's growing in your area or throughout the state of Wyoming? What type of learner are you? I really need to be in a classroom. I do much better. We call that face-to-face. You know, I need flexibility because I'm working shift work. We all have online options as well. I'm talking about all of the community colleges. We call that asynchronous learning because you can get on at any time and you can do your work. We have hybrid learning options, which are face-to-face and online combined, and those are growing. COVID has really created more opportunity for the hybrid learning so that part of it is face-to-face, AKA web conference, which is the next one, and some of it's online. So keep watching your community colleges. There's going to be more and more of these flexible learning options coming to fruition. And then of course we have all kinds of short-term certificates in training, both credit and non-credit. So depends on what you're interested in. So then just, you know, other fears, and I say excuses, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I have heard a few of these things over the years, and I'm too old to go to college. It blows my mind when I hear a 35-year-old say that, like, oh, I didn't go to college. Okay, well, you can still go to college. College is there for you anytime you're ready. No one in my family has ever gone to college. This we know can be a big barrier for folks. I don't know how to navigate it. We are here to help you navigate it. All you have to do is ask for help, make a phone call, come up to campus. I don't know how to do this. We want to help you. I can't do math or English. You know what? We have lots of people out there getting degrees, certificates, and they wait till the very end to do their math or English. There's a lot of fear surrounding this, but we have so many resources at the community colleges, math labs that help you work through that on your own pace. People, professionals who care about you, who will help get you ready for those college level classes. We have lots of options. I just really wanted to start my own business. We heard from Robin. There are those resources available. They're also available in our community colleges. I know for a fact that Central Wyoming College and LCCC has some very robust programs, as well as UW, in how to start your own business. You know, I'm not smart enough to go to college. Yes, you are. You can do this. And again, we are here to help. I won't fit in. We've talked about average age, demographics. It's for everyone. You will find somebody who is like you, and you'll meet all kinds of new and different people, which will expand your horizons. You know, I have no clue what I want to do. We just instituted a program at Western. It's to help you. It's an online component. You do it at your own pace. You can have access in your home on going through and see what your interest inventory is. Nobody will really care about me. People will care about you. That's the business we're in. I'm scared to walk in the door. Come on up. Come on up to Western now. We've got 5 full-size dinosaurs. every one of your community colleges just encourages you to come up, check it out, whether it's an outreach center. We're here to serve you. I was a terrible high school student. I hated school. Guess what? That was then. This is now. Things are different. So check it out. You know, I use this quote, and I won't read it to you, and I'll let you read it yourself. But this was one of our students, and he actually is graduating this semester, and he was in the armed forces and came back to school, and you know, he really didn't know what he wanted to do. Just wanted to come up and get a degree, and his experience really opened his eyes. He made some new friends. He felt like he was contributing to others and with some of his life experiences, and you all can do that as well. And then just some final thoughts about college. You really can do this. You're not alone. And just stop making those excuses for improving your life or planning for your future. There are loads of resources available. Even listen just in the past half hour of what's out there to help. Just ask for help. You know, these options for learning are going to continue to grow, and the work options are going to continue to grow because of COVID. We know that there's going to be more home options available for work and learning, and flexible options available. I bring up this term H3 career pathways: high need, high skill, high demand. In career and technical ed fields, we're really looking closely at this, and we're focusing on expanding those career pathways in H3 fields. So, you know, what is a high need and a high skill and high demand? Meaning, and I meant to put also in there high pay. So we are focusing on those kinds of pathways to help you. And then, you know, Wyoming is working hard to help you attain a higher education credential. There's a major initiative here in the state of Wyoming, a 5-year and a 10-year plan to help with our post-secondary attainment of that age group between 25 and 64. We need more folks to graduate with that higher education credential to have that qualified workforce. And Wyoming wants to keep you in Wyoming. So that's why you're hearing more and more about these resources that are available. And then there are learning options and resources for everyone in the family, and I think you're seeing that being demonstrated. So I have a couple links down there for you, the Community College Commission, and then of course I added Westerns, but you saw the slide earlier, and you're going to get these slides, and you can see your local community college. Every one of us is there to help you. And so just ask for that help. So with that, thank you. And I hope I stayed within my 15 minutes. And then we can move on to Katie.
So thanks, Kim. That was great. Again, as you're listening to these presentations, please feel free to submit questions after Katie, who I'll just introduce in a sec. We'll have a brief, well, we'll have about an hour for a Q&A. So look forward to those questions. So our next speaker again is Katie Hogarty from Climb Wyoming. So take it away, Katie.
Hi, good afternoon. I think everyone can hear me, and I'm wondering if there's a way that I can, I'm not going to share my screen, but I will share a video in just a second. Before I do that, just want to say thank you to the host. Thank you to the Powder River Basin Resource Council for hosting this important conversation. Thank you to Robin and Kim for sharing the important information. Most importantly, thank you to all of you that are listening to this. As I scroll through the list of people that had registered for the conference, there's great community leaders and policymakers and community members and individuals and employees employees in need that registered. So just really looking forward to connecting with you, and wanted to say thank you for joining this conversation. And if you're anything like me, you're tired of seeing people in this format. I know that my preference is really to be with you in person and to hear your stories and hear how you are right now in this time, and that's just so difficult. So thank you for all joining over your lunchtime. I really appreciate that. As Rob said, I am the Director of External Relations for Climb Wyoming, And CLIMB is a nonprofit that's statewide that provides career training and placement to low-income single mothers. We've been doing this work across the state for 35 years. I'd love to talk with you about how we do the work and what we do. I'd like to just introduce you to the work, first of all, by showing a video. So Monica, I'm hoping that you can.
You already have your gifts inside of you. Dig deep and know the potential you have and the gifts you have within yourself. CLIMB wants to be part of that with you.
This is much more than job training.
You've taken the first step.
The first step to changing your life.
That is courage.
You are becoming a person who believes in herself again.
You are more than.
You are more than. You are more than. You are more than good enough.
Take a deep breath.
There may be times
When it gets hard,
where you want to give up.
But we'll be there every step of the way. Every step of the way.
every step of the way.
This is a judgment-free zone.
To be able to experience that with a group of women is so powerful.
We're all on this journey together.
We believe in the strengths of
Every woman.
every woman.
Every woman that walked through our door.
You deserve to be heard.
You have a voice.
You're amazing, Mom. I'm proud of my mom.
You can do this.
You are becoming
Hopeful, creative,
Self-aware.
Empowered, fearless,
In control.
Beautiful.
you are strong.
Accomplished. You are valued.
You are confident.
When you work hard,
We can do
and be.
anything. This is to better ourselves. This is for us.
It's a safe place to speak up, to speak out.
You have choices about your future.
you have a voice.
You have the power to take charge of your life.
Even after CLIMB, there's still a place for you here.
This will change your life.
Just believe.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am CLIMB Wyoming.
I've been doing this work for over 10 years and I still get choked up or emotional just thinking about the courage of the moms that we serve across the state. To share a little bit of context first, currently we're in 6 brick and mortar sites across the state of the Wyoming. We have sites in Laramie, Cheyenne, Casper, Gillette, the Sweetwater area, and the Teton area. And while we're only in those 6 sites, we do serve 17 counties in the state of Wyoming. So we do have a broad reach. And each of our training programs is really unique based on what jobs are available in the community. So we strive to be very nimble and responsive to what's happening in a community. And we can, if we need to, even change a training right before it starts or during the training to make sure that we're meeting employers' needs as we go through a training. An example of that might be what we experienced during COVID. We realized really quickly that we had to change trainings in some of our sites so that there would be jobs at the end of it. So we switched some of our trainings like CDL to a medical-based training, or some of our medical-based trainings to commercial truck driving trainings based on what was happening in those industries and those communities, because at the end of the day, we want our moms to be able to go into a job. Each of our programs serves a cohort of women. We work with 10 to 12 women at a time, which is very special if you think about how hard it is to be in poverty and how isolated families in poverty are. So the social capital that people gain as they come through the program is unique and very special. I oftentimes hear graduates say, man, it's the group that got me through this program. Or when I was worried about losing my job because my car broke down, it was the women that I went through the program with that helped save my job. So we know that that cohort aspect of our model is incredibly important. One of the other things that's important is that we're a mental health-based program. I'll talk a little bit about that later, but we do provide individual and group counseling to all of the moms that come through our program. Not because we think that they're crazier or more have more barriers than the rest of us, but because being a single mom is really hard and going to work is really hard. And so we want to offer our participants as much support as possible as they think about coming through the program. One of the ways that our program is unique and different as well is that it's a very short-term training. Our participants, they're low income, they really struggle with poverty. Most of the job training programs across the country that serve a low income population, and speak total jargon here for a second, most of the job training programs serve a population of 185% of poverty. We serve a population that's right around 30% of the federal poverty level, which means that for a family size of 3, our participants are making about $500 a month or less. So that's our participants that are making really gut-wrenching decisions every day. Do they put $5 in their car so they can drive to a job interview, or do they feed their kids at night? So we're working with moms that are really struggling. And it's when you're struggling with poverty that much, it's hard to leave a job for a long time to get training or to go back to school. And so our training is about, depending on the training, is about 10 to 12 weeks for training. And then we place the moms into a job. And so the trainings are, like I said, are really varied and are based on industry demands. Some examples of training, like I mentioned before, are medical, some certified nursing assistant training, medical assistant, phlebotomy, some billing and coding and medical administration careers. We also offer non-traditional for women careers, such as commercial truck driving, warehouse technician, welding, plumbers, and plumbing and pipe fitting training. It's very, we've done an HVAC training in Laramie. The trainings are really diverse based on each industry. And there's way more demand for the program than we can serve because we serve 10 to 12 women in each program, and we are serving multiple programs a year. The application process is very intense to come through the program. We want to make sure that we are both serving the moms that are most in need and most ready to succeed. When the training program starts, women are in industry training for 4 days a week. As skilled as I think our staff are, and we can't do the technical training, like how to take a blood pressure or how to reverse a big truck. So we work with industry partners. Oftentimes there are community colleges, sometimes they're not. We partner very closely with those college systems when we can. They're such a valuable resource in the community. And so the moms are in full-time training, or in training 4 days a week. For the 5th day a week, they come to Climb, where they learn all sorts of life skills and skills that help them be successful at work, in addition to parenting, budgeting, and the counseling that I talked about. I wish I could see everybody and make this more interactive. I really want to talk about what happens to our brains when we experience trauma, because all of our participants have experienced some kind of stress or trauma over their lives, and chronic poverty has the same impact on the brain that a major trauma has in your life. And I think many of us can really relate to this as we think about what's happened over the last year. Losing a job is traumatic. Living through a pandemic is traumatic. And what we know about the brain is that this is the back part of our brain. It's the animal part of our brain. This is where the fight, flight, or freeze reflex happens. This is what happens when we're afraid or experiencing it. Most emotions happen here. We know that executive functioning happens in the front part of our brains. That's where we have emotional regulation and brainstorming, problem solving, those important skills that help us keep our job happen in this part of our brain. It's really hard to access, and it's really easy to judge when people are in the back part of our brains. An example I like to use of this is when someone fills out a job application with a green pen because it's the only thing they could find in their car as they were racing around trying to pick up their kids and apply for a job and manage all the other things that are on their plates as they're thinking about all the things that they need to accomplish in a day. It happens here. This is the part of our brain that tells us maybe use a blue or black ink pen. It's a simple example, but there's a lot of being able to control our emotions and have high executive functioning skills creates long-term success at work. So the focus of a Climb Day and the focus of our training is really helping participants through a relationship-based, mental health-based model and through practice be able to connect to the part of their brain that's responsible for success at work. So we use this model as we're thinking about mock interviewing for a job or working through a job application. You can flip your lid really easily if you're talking about your criminal history or why you lost a job or why you don't have access to your birth certificate because it burned in a fire, or all the different things that really cause someone to stay in the back part of the brain. So we're helping them do this so that they can find success in the workplace long term. And that model works. We have some of the highest success moving families out of poverty across the country. Women from the CLIMB program, over 87% of our women have doubled or tripled their wages after completing the CLIMB program. Our model really leads to long-term success and self-sufficiency for families. My favorite part of the job when I was working with the moms as the program director and business liaison was really serving as the matchmaker between a mom and a job. We know this is also a part of success, is really learning from a woman her strengths and skills and weaknesses and what makes her tick, really working with an employer in the community to make sure we're lining those skills up so that we can have a fit for the long term as a mom goes to work. We provide a lot of the same services that Workforce Services does, and we partner with them so closely to meet the needs that we're not able to meet. We provide work clothing, right now computer and internet services, anything that a mom might need to be able to be successful to work and go to work. We help provide that for as she's going to work. And we reimburse an employer 100% of wages as the mom's transitioning to work. We know that upfront investment can really yield a long-term success. And during that work experience agreement phase, the 6 to 8 weeks that we're reimbursing 100% of her wages, we work with employers to do a work performance evaluation so that the mom really understands what's working and what's not working at work, so that as we step out of the partnership, women are successful in their jobs, and they are. We follow up with our moms 2 years post-program. The first year, client staff every 3 months is reaching out to moms to understand how they're doing and celebrate their success and help them work through barriers. And YSAC through the University of Wyoming follows up with the moms up in the second year to make sure that we have a third party looking at our statistics. So we're really proud of our success and know that we're a very valuable resource to moms and families in the community and also to employers. And we play a big role in being part of Wyoming's workforce solution. I'm so excited and eager to answer questions and to hear what you're thinking about. Thank you so much.
So thanks, Katie. You can really feel the emotional connection you have to your programs and the video. I saw it for the first time there, and it's definitely an effective video in communicating the opportunity that's there and the willingness and support that you guys can provide. So really look forward to hearing more about that. So right now we'll just have a 5-minute break, let people get up, move around. We'll kind of put those questions together, and then we'll come back for about a 50-minute Q&A, 45-minute Q&A. So look forward to seeing everybody.
Nice job, Katie. Robin.
Same to you. I thought that went well.
Rob.
Thanks to all of you. Hopefully, we've got some pretty good questions here, so hopefully we can get started when everybody's ready.
And Rob, I'll just go ahead and send you questions as they come in.
By email or by text? How do you want to do that?
I'll send them over email in the same thread.
Okay, then I will just keep opening the emails as they come, and if everybody sees me looking across my screen to something else, I'm not answering emails or we've all learned with Zoom meetings that you can multitask these days, right? Sometimes that's less productive than other times. All right, well, why don't we get started with a few of the questions. I'll just open this up and ask really a question that all of you have addressed a little bit, but I wanted to maybe get a little more insight into how we go about addressing this challenge. And the challenge is this, I think, Robin, you put it this way, the stepping through that front door. Kim, you talked about this. Katie, you pointed this out. But really, that's sometimes the toughest part, is just making that decision and that step. So I wondered if each of you could just kind of talk about any strategies you have to get that started, or how you reach out to those people to make it a little bit easier. Just what are the efforts that you make to engage in that challenge? Because that really is, that's the first and most important decision. So I'd just love to hear that from each of you, and I'll start with you, Robin.
Thank you, Rob. What we've seen is pushback, because we're talking about a culture, which we're talking about a history of a family that generation after generation have had incredibly good paying jobs in fields that now are in question. And I think the best example I can provide that I think maybe would open a door to some people is, we had an individual come into the office on one occasion after one of the layoffs at the mine. And this individual, we actually sat down, did the very individualized discussions with them, what they wanted to do, where they wanted to be, and even, what kind of salary are you looking at? And this individual eventually got their nursing degree. I mean, what a 360, right? Or a 180, I guess I would say, into another great paying, high demand job. Now that took some time. It took effort for sure. But what we need to look at is making this discussion around the entire family. Because if you have a family and you're in one of these positions, we've also then got to provide the supports for the family as well. Maybe we're now going to be looking with the other individual that's not been the breadwinner, or that's been, in another position, they want to move into something different. We've got to make this a family affair where we're working with all of them. We're working with their high school students to help them, with the interest identification and the pathways for them, pathways into the community colleges. What is it they want to do to help them get the benefits they need in order to get all of the wonderful service financial assistance that Kim talked about, that's out there. I mean, all of this these financial services are available. So we need to make this a well-rounded plan that doesn't just speak to the individual that might be looking at a potential layoff, but it speaks to the entire family. And how can we prop the entire family up to move them forward, so that maybe mom and dad then aren't paying as much, or are worried about paying as much for college education. And we maybe have another person that's there able to assist with the finances for the family, while another one of the individuals then goes to school. And I mean, it's kind of it's a multifaceted response that I think that I think we need to consider.
So how about you, Kim? How do you get people to get past all those excuses and actually get them to walk into Western Wyoming Community College and start that journey?
It can depend on the demographic, right? Recruitment is changing for higher education right now. We have a lot of younger students, if you will, who are just saying, give me something digital. You know, like I want to do everything I can on this, right? So we're trying to meet that need, but then we might have an adult student who's like, no, I need to touch it, feel it, smell it, all of that. And so it's kind of a comprehensive approach. It really speaks to what Robin was talking about as well. It depends if you're talking about a high school student or you're talking about a mom or a dad from a traditional perspective, who's the major breadwinner, what their needs are. And honestly, we're trying to, you know, as community colleges, we have done our very, very best to meet the needs of everybody. And when you have reduced resources, we're starting to have to be very much more intentional. So I would say first and foremost, anybody who is interested in any community college to find out what they have available, go to the website, get a cup of coffee on a Saturday morning, sit down, look, and just start looking through the website. What kinds of things can you learn about it? With all of the outreach centers and access, and I would encourage folks to just walk in the front door. A lot of our community colleges have one-stop shops. So at Western, we have what's called Mustang Central, very well marked. You walk into the Rock Springs campus, you follow the signs to Mustang Central. Big area, lots of folks there ready to help you. You can ask any question. How do I get money? How do I figure out what I want? And they are there to help you. So it's not supposed to be difficult. But really, I love this discussion about the whole family being involved in the decisions, because, you know, I can think of one family where, from a traditional perspective, the dad was working in a plant and his body was, you know, it was catching up with them. You know, my joints hurt, I'm having to go to physical therapy. I got to do something different, right? Mom wasn't working. Mom says, I'm going to go back to work to help you make a transition, because what they planned on was for dad might have to take a little pay cut to make a transition to a different pathway, but mom can supplement.
Yeah.
And then you can also look at that high school student who might be graduating with a certificate and can get a good entry-level position. So I really like that approach to just that larger lens of how can we do this together and what options are available. And again, there's so much available online, and from a hybrid perspective, maybe somebody has to do a program face-to-face because it's career and tech ed. I have to do hands-on diesel mechanics at the campus. But mom's like, I'm getting a bachelor's degree online. There's just a lot of opportunities. So I encourage folks to just look at it from that perspective.
Great, thanks, Kim. And Katie, you know, you talked about that back of the brain primitive part, you know, the fear, flight, you know, fight reaction. And I guess really that decision to reach out and do something different is the first of your higher level thinking skills that overcome that. But you also mentioned, you know, your program is selective, but we don't want people to get the sense that, oh, it's selective, I won't be able to get in. So I want you to talk more about just, you know, the openness of your program. It's clear in the video, but how do you overcome that and try to serve the best you can?
Yeah, we first, we don't take for granted how hard it is to come into the front door. That's takes so much courage and so much planning and foresight. We don't take that for granted, and so all of our recruitment efforts are done through a relationship. And I'm a little bit worried about my jargon, but we try all that we can do to create a psychologically informed environment for a participant or candidate or anyone that comes into our space at every step of the way. So that means we just create emotional safety. So one of the things that we do to really recruit moms to the program is to leverage existing relationships. We know that if a mom is at a food pantry or domestic violence shelter, wherever we might find her, counselors at her school or anywhere where she's connected to people, that if they hand her a business card and say, call Katie down at Climb, we think she could be really supportive to you, the likelihood that that's going to happen is pretty slim, that a mom will follow through with that, be able to, when she's in crisis or struggling, that'll happen. So we try to make it as easy as possible for that follow through to happen. And we do that through the relationships that the moms are already connected with. So we're out in the communities with our partners so that when a mom comes to the front door, they can say, let's call Katie together. I'm sure she'd love to meet with us. Or why don't we go up to the Climb office together? I'd love to show you where that is and how you even park when you go there, what that means to walk into the door. Let's make an appointment. We make that easy so that the follow through is just easier to accomplish. And after that happens, sometimes we work with a participant for years before she might be ready for the program. Maybe her child is really young and she's afraid to put that child into daycare. Maybe she doesn't have a functioning car and we know that's going to be a barrier to the industry that she's working on. Maybe she's currently struggling with an addiction and we know that's not going to set her up for success at work. So we help connect moms with resources that might help them be successful before they even come through the program. So we partner with a mom during that process. We never say no to a mom. We say, maybe not right now. Maybe if we wait until you're done with this custody battle in court, that you'll be more successful, or whatever the situation might be. We really partner with her to identify what timing works best for her. A mom can only come through the program one time, so our staff really take the responsibility of helping the moms maximize that time seriously. We want to make sure that we're really setting her up for long-term success at work.
Great, so thanks, those are great answers from each of you. So I'm gonna just turn a little bit and I'm gonna ask, this is not choosing among your children, but all of you have a lot of different activities going on. I'm gonna ask each of you to identify which, tell me about one that really excites you and really you think is an opportunity that we could, that people in Wyoming might really want to get involved in, or maybe one they didn't think of before. So Katie, maybe I'll start with you first. Sorry to put you on the spot so quickly, but tell me about a story or a success, and maybe it's something that people don't normally think of. Maybe it's just the first thing that springs to your mind, but I'd like to hear about one of those success stories.
Man, how much time do we have for this? I could talk about this all day. And the just hundreds of women that I've worked with personally, and then just thinking about overall the women across the state. We've had a tremendous impact on poverty across the state of Wyoming, and there's 1,000 success stories. I'm going to share one that's really near and dear to my heart, and a graduate that has reached out to me recently, which really shows how long-term moms are connected to the program. This is a graduate who came through the program before I started working at Climb, so she must have graduated 12 or 13 years ago from the program. And she had worked, previous to coming through Climb, she was a NICU nurse at a hospital on the East Coast. So she was very successful in her career and was doing really well and really struggled with addiction. Lost her job, lost her license to practice nursing, and moved back with her family into Laramie, and didn't know where to go. She was working frying chickens at a grocery store and depressed and really struggling. Found herself sober, found herself at Climb, and was able to get placed into a financial industry and worked in the banking industry for many years, worked her way up, transferred to her skills at the university on campus, was really starting to feel success, and just had this burning feeling inside of her that she wanted to go back into nursing. She wasn't doing what she wanted to do with her life and her career. And that's when I connected with her. This is years after she finished the program. She called Climb and said, help me, I'm ready now. Help me get my nursing license back. And so we helped her work with the State Board of Nursing, and it's a really difficult process to get your nursing license back with a lot of contingencies. So she was able to work as a nurse, and was there for me when I had appendicitis and had to go to urgent care. I was sick and was really scared. And she held my hand as they were putting an IV in and just cried and said, I never thought that I'd be able to be in this career, paying it forward to you. It's just that this is such a big honor in my life. And has continued to practice nursing and has really been on the front lines of the pandemic, really making our community healthier and safer. Really, she has so much to be proud of, just done so much work to be where she is now.
That's really inspiring. Kim, how about you? Do you have a story or a program you want to talk about? Just one example. And I apologize for all the animals that are about to Zoom bomb me here.
Rob, this is a really unfair question. Like, is there one program when we're just so proud of so many? So, you know, I don't know if folks saw, but Western just got recognized for being one of the top online institutions in the United States, as well as one of the top affordable colleges. So when you look at those two accolades, I think, you know, we've demonstrated that we've done a terrific job with that. I'm super passionate about the access mission of community college, and it's especially important in our rural state, right? So coming from the Denver metro area, I mean, there's oodles and oodles of colleges everywhere. And if you don't like that one, you can go down the road and pick another one. But here in Wyoming, it's really, really important that we do this right and we do this well, and we have those accessible options for students. So, you know, whether you're in Star Valley or you're, you know, way up in Sundance, wherever, you have access to a quality, affordable higher education experience. So at Western, we're really proud to say that even before the pandemic, we had over 200 fully online classes throughout our service area. And we've done some really cool things with swivel cameras in the classroom to provide that access to our students, where they can be in the classroom with our talented faculty, but sitting right here at home. And so I guess I would say that aside from our amazing career and technical education programs there, I snuck an extra one in there. I think I'm super, you know, proud and excited that we can provide the access that we do in our rural communities.
Well, that's great, and I really do appreciate the commitment that the community colleges have to this access mission. I know it's one of the things that here at UW we are trying to catch up, but you guys are definitely the leaders in this area. So thanks for that. Robin, how about you? I know this is almost as bad a question, or maybe even worse than the one for Kim, because of all of the things that you guys do, but maybe there's a story or a particular program. You did relate the one about the strike force response in Gillette with the Black Jewel layoffs that came so suddenly. You know, is there something else you wanted to talk about, or is there is more of that experience, or are there other ones too that you're equally proud of?
Well, we were counting, you know, we've always talked about having about 55 programs, but we decided to actually count that. We've probably got about 60 programs, so it's tough to choose between them. But one program that I really wanted to speak to you about, and I speak to you about it because it's just so unique and so Wyoming centric, and it's called the Wyoming Grown Program. It was initiated several years ago and actually got some national news coverage because of its uniqueness. And what they did was they developed a program where if grandparents, parents, friends, whomever had an individual that they knew of that moved outside of the state of Wyoming, and they felt like these individuals felt like they wanted to bring them back, which we all do, right? We all want to bring our family back into Wyoming, or our friends, or what have you. They can apply to the governor's office or apply through this program. And what would happen if they were selected is the governor would send them a personal letter telling them the many opportunities in Wyoming, and telling them about, I mean, how flattering would that be to get a personal letter from the governor saying, we want you back. You've got a connection to Wyoming. Come back to Wyoming, right? So I actually went off camera for a few minutes because I wanted to get you some numbers around this. What we were able to do with that program was we calculated $3.8 million in salaries earned for individuals that come back into Wyoming. And the industries that we were able to find employees for were in business management, fiscal operations, administration and sales, science and technology, legal and education, arts, entertainment and media, farm, fishing and forestry, healthcare, engineering, and construction and extraction. And I speak to that because I think we're trying to really kind of rework the program now so that we're working more directly with existing employers. And we're asking existing employers, okay, what kind of specialized employees do you need that you're not able to find in Wyoming right now? And what we're doing is we want to develop the program so that through LinkedIn and other social media sites, we're reaching out to individuals that have that link to Wyoming, telling them about these specific opportunities in Wyoming and asking them to contact us in order to see if we can draw them back into Wyoming for these specific jobs that we know that we need to fill. So there's a lot of iterations, I think, to this program, and we're really trying to ramp it up. And it's something that's on our radar because it's such a unique program that I think we could really bring some of our family home to Wyoming, right? Instead of that out migration, we'll have this in migration of people coming back to Wyoming. So I think that's one of the programs I just want to mention because it's so unique to Wyoming. And has some real benefit or potential benefit to Wyoming in the future.
That's really cool. I did not expect you to tell us about that, but that's a great program. I can just imagine opening that letter with the governor's seal on it, wondering what the heck is this in my mail today? And an invitation from the governor to come back to Wyoming. We want you, we need you. That would be really amazing. Well, let me switch gears a little bit and ask each of you, and I'll start with you, Kim, and then go to you, Robin, and then Katie. What are the workforce needs in Wyoming right now? What are those opportunities? And some people might get really excited when they hear what we need and what those opportunities might be. So, and in addition to just thinking about jobs, like what are the other? You can also answer this with respect to what are other skills that maybe we really need and can provide in Wyoming with some of the services that each of your organizations provide. So I'll start with you, Kim.
So I think everybody understands that we have an issue related to diversifying our economy. And so coming from a high extraction area in Southwest Wyoming, this is a conversation we have a lot, we talk a lot about. And so Robin talked about this earlier, so I would like to showcase this again related to the next gen sector partnership work. And what this work is if you remember her slide, it showed some sectors, some industry sectors that have been identified to grow in certain areas within the state. So there are initiatives surrounding this to help that outcome. How are we going to diversify? So let's talk about manufacturing, because that's relevant to my area. So manufacturing has been identified as a growth area for Southwest Wyoming. What are we doing about it? Well, we have a group of industry partners, including the school districts and the community college, and we get together every month and we talk about what initiatives are we doing to expand opportunities in manufacturing. This could be expansion of surface jobs down at, at the Trona mines. There's been a little bit of cutback, due to COVID, but we know that there's going to be expansion efforts soon, depending on when things, really completely turn around. So what are those jobs and what are those skills that are necessary? We know that there's a company in town that wants to switch gears from focusing on oil and gas to more of a manufacturing outcome. What are those job skills that are necessary? We talk about that as professionals and we plan. And so that takes a community, it takes everyone, right? You have to have K-12 at the table. You have to have your higher education. You have to have your employers. And that's what this next gen partnership does. So how do we encourage high school students to go into some of these pathways? Well, we're going to do some talks in the high school. We're going to invite them for tours. We're going to do things like that. So I think these grassroots kinds of initiatives that have passionate leadership behind them can really help make a difference in our collective economy. And then let me just say one more thing about the role of the community college and how it's changing. In the past, I like to talk a lot about the chicken and the egg theory surrounding economic development. And what this means is, in the past, as a community college, if there's a business that wants to grow, or they don't have enough workers, they come to the community college and they say, this is what we need, and your program needs to teach these outcomes. Great, we're fantastic at that. But what we're trying to do now is have the conversation about what draws industry to Wyoming. A qualified workforce. If you sit down and talk with a company somewhere outside of Wyoming, what's one of the first things they're going to say? You want us to come to Wyoming? Do you have a qualified workforce? So what's the role for all of us? Maybe to expand a workforce to draw more industry in. It's a different conversation, and we're having many, many more of those conversations now. Okay?
Great. How about you, Robin? Where do you see those sectors of opportunity or opportunities to help the workforce with skills? What kind of jumps to the front of your mind?
Well, when you asked the question, I immediately pulled up the Next Gen Sector Partnership slide, because that is, now remember what that is industry identifying in their area the areas they think that they need to expand their workforce, right? So we've got healthcare, we've got manufacturing, construction and trades, financial and insurance, hospitality. That is the industries in those areas saying, okay, here are the initiatives that we're going to put forth because we want to develop these particular the workforce in these particular areas. So that to me is an excellent starting point. And then government really is there to just support them. Like with the community colleges, recognizing, okay, maybe we need a program in this area, or the K through 12 recognizing, okay, let's get a school bus out there and let's get a load of individuals that are interested in construction and take them to the construction site and have them look at what it is actually that they can be doing, have them talk to some of these workers and see what it is that they can be doing. So I think that's the first thing my mind jumped to, but I also want to go to this whole program we have with it in our workforce development training fund grants. So we talk about, Kim talked about, you know, we've got businesses that want to come to Wyoming, and we've seen it before. They don't come to Wyoming because we don't have the skilled labor, right? Well, what we have with the pre-hire grants that are in those in that training fund area is if we get a business that commits to Wyoming, All right, and we've done it on several occasions. We have funding available to then train up their workers so that when they open, they've got workers that are ready to hit the ground, that are trained the way they want them trained and ready to go. So we've got pre-hire grants. But another really exciting thing about that is the internship grants that we've got. And that actually started, Rob, through Fred Schmeckel with the Wyoming 307 over there, or the Sewell group over there. And what they have is they're working with entrepreneurs with all these wonderful ideas and innovative and creative businesses that they're developing. But it's just one person. So what's happening is they get it so far and then they want to expand, but that's just them. So where do they go from there? So what we did was develop the internships so they can get an intern on board that we help pay for the funding for that intern. It's not all completely paid, but the funding is we provide assistance to pay. And maybe what you get is you get an intern in there that gets so excited about this new and innovative idea. They want to stay with you and help that business grow, and hopefully help that business grow in Wyoming. So that's the whole thought process behind these internships, is get them into these businesses and make them, help them get excited about it and help them find out what it is that they want to move forward with in their own career. So those are just some of the options, I think, and some of the ideas out there.
Great. How about you, Katie?
Yeah, I love that. And my perspective obviously is a little bit more narrow as I think about the population that we work with and the work that we do at Climb. And from my perspective, being the small guy on the ground and being able to be nimble meets the workforce needs. We're able to change curriculum, add curriculum, work with training partners, switch training on a dime, like I talked about before. Our nimbleness leads to, I think, success, and we really provide training that employers are looking for. So it's not a one size fits all. We get to be really creative. And so I think that all of us working together to set policy that drives the work on the ground feels really important. So but there's something to be said about being small and being able to be flexible and really be able to meet the needs on the ground pretty immediately. We're a small ship, so we can steer quickly.
So we got a question from one of the webinar participants, and two of you mentioned the next gen effort. And they identify themselves as a retired computer systems engineer. And they also note that there were thousands of jobs, remote jobs, for somebody like that 5 years ago. Now there's tens of thousands. This is a great question because it kind of epitomizes the I want to help mentality that is around in Wyoming. They ask, how can they contribute to bringing more software developers to Wyoming? And how could they get involved in helping with that? We have a lot of resources like that. Wyoming is a place where a lot of really great talents come to, retire often, and they still want to be involved. So this is kind of a question turning it the other way. How do we take advantage of that? And are there, what advice do you have? And I'll start with you, Kim.
Okay. Well, I'd like to know who you are. So a couple of things come to mind. Number one, I'm going to go out on a limb and say every one of our community colleges is interested in this topic, including not only computer programming, because computer science is one thing and computer information systems is another thing. And sometimes it's not a spectrum. They're two different things, but we need all of it. What this means is we need people who are doing programming. They are looking at new, best practices in artificial intelligence and how can we utilize that, and because the world is changing in that direction, right? We also need somebody to fix our computer when it isn't working, right? Or, oh my gosh, my password changed and how do I fix this? And I really do know how, but it took me a while. Anyway, but we need people, we need all of that, right? So what I would suggest is you contact your local community college and ask how you can participate on a computer science and or computer information system or information technology, they're all called a little different, advisory committee. Because I mentioned it earlier, our degrees and certificates, we are looking for, for any career in tech ed program, which happens to have a 2-year outcome, we have to have those advisory committees that are telling us, they're made up of business people with the expertise to say, you need this I need this in from your graduates, and here's some expertise, and here's my perspective, and my goodness, maybe, just maybe, you could be an adjunct teacher for us, because we are all competing for them. Now the world has changed, and now we are utilizing, and Rob, I bet you agree with this, we're utilizing adjuncts from different states, right? Remote workers, it's impacting higher education as well. So I would encourage you to contact your local community college and look online and talk to the department chair of computers.
Great, thanks. So I'm going to come back to you, Katie, in a second, ask how maybe volunteers like that might engage with people at Climb. But Robin, I'm not sure how you're a state agency, so it might be a little different. But how do you react and engage those community people who do want to participate in trying to make a difference in Wyoming?
Well, I've been in contact with the Professional Teachers Standards Board, and they have the coolest program that they just sent out a really neat ad campaign around. And so if you're looking, if it's K through 12 that you want to get involved in, what they want are people with those types of skills to come into the classrooms in our I would probably suspect junior high and high school and start teaching some classes. They are looking for people to come in, and I don't know that it's just as a substitute teaching. I think it's they want those individuals in the classroom, and I think they've lessened the requirements in order to get you don't have to go through that certification stage, or there's some different process that they develop. And it's really remarkable. And I think what it does is it allows individuals just like this, that they're not done with their careers. They want to give back now. And here's the perfect opportunity to get into the junior highs and high schools and give back and provide the knowledge that you have and get kids excited about your career and your employment. So I think that if you contact it's Nish Gokolia with the Professional Teacher Licensing Board, and they will be all over this to help you out.
It's a great idea. And Katie, could somebody like that help your programs?
Yes, and it happens all the time. And not only do we have experts come in and work with our training providers to actually help the moms develop those skills, I think we can be an incentive to industry. So this has happened across the state where our Climb staff are working with our Chamber of Commerce, they're working with Workforce Services, they're working with the people that are developing industry across the community. And they can say to the person coming into the state or starting a business, we can give you 10 really skilled women. What skills do you need? What type of training? Do you have a really unique software that's just for your company? Or are there skills that that we can provide moms so that they'll be ready to go in this industry? And we can provide 30 women a year to a particular entity if they're looking to fill their workforce in that way. So we really partner with those businesses. And like I said, we reimburse 100% of wages for the first several weeks that a mom is working. It can be an incentive to not only offset those wages, but really provide technical training that's unique to that particular business through our training program.
Great. So I'm gonna, there's been a number of questions about transition funding, federal funding, things like that. So I'm gonna ask each of you, and I'll start with you first, Katie. How do you use or could you utilize existing transition funding as well as the relief and recovery funding that is now becoming available, and also that infrastructure funding that's coming down the pipe? And of course, workforce is infrastructure. So how could that be utilized, and how are you going to use that for the families of impacted workers? And secondly, how do we make sure that we're developing Wyoming solutions, right? Oftentimes we come in with, I've got a solution, now what's the problem? How do we make sure that we are reacting to those Wyoming needs and creating those homegrown solutions that'll be effective and responsive to that? So I'll start with you, Katie, and then I'll come to you, Robin, and then last, Kim.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Currently, we're using relief funds to provide technical training that moms need. It's very uncommon for the participants that we work with to have not only laptop computers, but also even internet. That we don't work with a population that has a modem, or it's probably even the wrong word these days, but we don't work with moms that have high connectivity in their homes. So we're using relief funds to support that, so that they can not only go through a training program, but also work with their kids in online learning if the kids are quarantined or not in school right now. So being able to support the entire family feels really important at this point in time. So we're currently using the funds that are coming through the counties to support that work. Federally, we're doing research to pay attention to how we can best use the dollars. We're primarily government publicly funded at Climb, so we find ourselves to be really good stewards of public funds. We were just recognized as a top 10 program of TANF recipients across the country. We're consistently recognized as using SNAP, which is food stamps, or employment and training dollars. We're really good stewards of those dollars. SNAP invited us to speak at the White House on economic mobility twice last year. We're really trying to think about what we've learned over the 35 years we've been in Wyoming and our success and what that means for other programs across the country. So I just say that we take the responsibility to be good stewards of public funding very seriously. And so we're thinking about ways that we can leverage the opportunities that are coming down to see if they're a good fit for our participants and our population. And the second part of your question was, what about Wyoming needs? And I'm so proud to say that we're only a Wyoming program. We're unique to the state of Wyoming. We know that we have a strong expertise. Right now, we're exploring the ways that we can be able to share our expertise outside of the state of Wyoming so that other programs can learn from our best practices to improve their outcomes. So we're really Wyoming centric and really focused on not just reacting, but responding and being really thoughtful about the work that we do on the ground here to really impact poverty. I know that I'm going to mess up the statistic, but the return on investment and the cost savings that we have to the state of Wyoming is huge. In the last year, we've just in food stamps alone have saved the state of Wyoming $5 million. That's incredibly significant. So we're proud of the impact that we've had on the state of Wyoming over the last 35 years.
Great, thanks. And Robin, how do you kind of answer that question about what are you doing with the funding, and also how do you make sure that it's reactive to what Wyoming needs as opposed to sometimes that programmatic inertia that all organizations can sometimes build up?
Yeah, thank you, Rob. The governor announced this last week as it relates to the recovery funds that he's put together groups of individuals within state government that will be working on a plan not only to assist Wyoming right now and with COVID and some of the issues we're facing, but what is the best use of these funds to look forward to really plan for the future of Wyoming. And so we're actively working with preschool, K through 12, community colleges, UW, and all of that is wrapped in with workforce, right? Because it all intersects. And it intersects with a lot of the other areas like the business diversity, but also there's intersections with health and social services. So we're all working on a plan around how to best use those funds for the betterment of Wyoming now and for the future. So as we look at that, though, I think we've got to be, and we all are very cognizant that we need to get stakeholder input And that to me means community input. What are the, across Wyoming, you're going to find different ideas as it relates to Cheyenne, Kemmer, Gillette, what's going on in Jackson. Every community is going to have a different need, right? So I think it's important with utilizing these funds and really developing that Wyoming plan around these funds, that stakeholder input is critical in order to, it's not a one size fits all answer. So we all need to be looking at that, be cognizant of that. And I think that what you're going to see presented to the legislature as it relates to those funds is going to be very much forward thinking. We want to think big. We want to think bold in some of these ideas. And so I think that answers your questions in both regards about what does the community need, but also looking at Wyoming as a whole and what do we need moving forward.
Great, thanks. And Kim, what do you think? And how do you address, both of those things? What are we doing with all well, not all of, there can always be more, but the funds that have recently become available that have helped us, and how do you make sure that it's responsive to what we need in Wyoming?
So when we originally got some of the earlier CARES funds, we immediately put it to good use by creating more scholarships for students. So, how do we get this money in the hands of our students to give them better access, back to that word again? So we anticipate doing more of that, Rob. But really a great segue from what Robin was talking about. The community colleges are currently formulating their plans based on what she was just saying on how to be bold and how to look forward in utilizing some of these funds and being very visionary with that. So we are working on those right now, as well as the Wyoming Community College Commission. I work closely with Dr. Sandy Caldwell, our executive director with the commission, and Dr. Ed Seidel, who's the president at UW, where we're really looking at how we might be able to utilize some of these funds to help with the attainment goals that the state has identified in their strategic plan. So that's why I referred to that in my PowerPoint. Watch, we encourage everybody, watch for things to come, because we really want to be strategic in utilizing these funds. And I will also say that I would suspect that we're going to look at, we're going to see some new programming, because with all of the cuts that higher education has sustained in Wyoming, we have no money right now to expand programming. So for instance, in Southwest Wyoming, we've identified a strong need to enhance automated manufacturing programs, and we're going to need some funding to jumpstart those. And then that helps jumpstart our economy and get more qualified workers. And there's just some terrific momentum with that. So I think we can see more, some new programs developing and more opportunities for our residents to get highly skilled in a lot of high demand areas.
Great, well, thanks. So our time is almost up. So I'm just going to go kind of around the room here, so to speak, and ask each of you for kind of, last thoughts, what you really want to communicate to the viewers and listeners who are online. And I'll start with you, Katie.
Well, thank you. First, I just want to show gratitude for being able to participate in this and for all the hard work that people are doing across the state. It makes such a difference to families, and that we're so fortunate at times we're fortunate to be in Wyoming. There's a ton of resources available for all types of employees, and thinking about the families that are most in need and the families that are most likely to succeed, there's a program for you. We're rich with resources, and would love to hear people if you have specific questions about CLIMB, if you're interested in partnering to employ a CLIMB graduate, or if you know someone that might be a good fit for the program. I would just love to hear from you and to be able to talk more about how we can be a solution for your family and also for the state.
Great, thanks. And thank you for being a part of this. Kim, I'll go to you next. Last thoughts.
Thank you for this opportunity as well. I've enjoyed this and I've learned a lot from my colleagues. I think I would just go for maybe a super macro conclusion, and that is for those folks that are looking to transition, I encourage them to embrace change. We have to in our state, right? In every way, shape, and form, we've got to look for new ways to diversify our economy. We've got to look at new ways to earn a living. And I know it's super scary sometimes, but I think we've demonstrated that there's a lot of people out here that want to help you. And that's why we go into these professions, right? We want everyone to be successful. So I encourage folks to embrace change.
That's great. And Robin, last word to you, last thoughts, opportunities. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the other two as well. I think we've had a really good symbiosis of ideas and discussion. I appreciate that. I think the first thing I want to say is I may be a Pollyanna, and I call myself that a lot because I'm always the optimist. There are some incredible things going on around our state. I've had the opportunity to look at and judge some different innovative ideas, and we've got some just from looking at individuals that are in junior high and some of their projects, all the way up to UW people that are innovating and creating around the state. And we have just got a creative group of people out there that if we can pull together, we can really make things happen. And I think that that's really the key that I want to leave with is we've got people doing things in all different directions, and all of them have really good ideas and really good intentions. And if we can kind of pull that in together, because we're going to be stronger and better together. So I just would encourage everyone, let's come together and work on this plan for moving Wyoming forward, because we have so much ahead of us in our future, and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you, Rob.
Well, I just wanted to thank all of you. So, I mean, thank you to each one of you. We were really lucky to have you this afternoon. Robin Cooley, the director of the Wyoming Department of Workforce Services, to Katie Hogarty, the incoming CEO at Climb Wyoming in the fall this year. So congratulations on that. And it's great to see you with all the enthusiasm you have. It's just great to hear. And then finally to you, and I'm going to be very formal because you deserve it, Dr. Kimberly Dale, President of Western Wyoming Community College. Thank you also for being here as well. And now I'll throw it back over to Monica to close us out. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Rob. You were such a fantastic moderator, and thank you all the panelists for your time today, and thank you to all the attendees that were here. We're really excited to continue these conversations.